It seems obvious to me, at least, that if Davante Adams does get traded, and we know he wants to get traded, it's to go play with Aaron Rodgers again in New York.
Or Derek Carr for some reason. And I don't mean that as a stray at Derek Carr. I just don't know why there would be a desire to go to the Saints. The Saints were 2-0. They scored 91 points, and now they've kind of fallen flat a little bit. I don't know what kind of a contender they're going to be. The Jets have always seemed like the most reasonable place. But then you look at their receiver depth chart. Garrett Wilson, Allen Lazard, who now that his BFF Aaron Rodgers is back, is having a rebirth, and Mike Williams, who they added in the offseason. The other thing you got to keep in mind, Davante Adams has a base salary of $16 million or thereabouts. You got to be able to fit the prorated cap charge into your cap space if you do this deal. Now, you could do sort of a restructuring after he's there, but you're going to have the cap space to absorb that contract as he comes through the door.
Mike, how about the 2 years remaining on the deal? None of the money is guaranteed, but it's about $35 million a year. What would you say about trying to navigate that sticking point in trade talks?
What happened with those 2 final years when he was traded by the Packers to the Raiders, and we see this from time to time. Alvin Kamara's contract has it. Tyreek Hill's prior contract had it. They'll put phony numbers on the back end to drive up the APY. So when you put 35.64 on the back end of Davante Adams' contract for 2 years, on top of the 3 years that were real, it takes a $22.9 million contract and it turns it into a $28 million contract, even though it's the same deal, because those final 2 years were never going to be honored. Nobody's going to pay him $35.64 million next year, which creates a separate problem. Are you just renting him for the rest of this season and then you're going to rip up the contract? Or are you going to negotiate a new contract with him the moment he walks through the door? And as the Jets learned the hard way with Hassan Reddick, if you don't negotiate the new contract the moment the guy walks through the door, the guy gets all the leverage.
Well, our policy is we don't negotiate with guys the second they walk through the door, Mike, if it's in season.
What a stupid policy, too. For all the things the Steelers do right, and I love the Steelers organization. I've been in and around Pittsburgh my whole life. I feel like I understand that team more than any other. I don't understand this rule that says once we start playing games, we can't. Yeah, the whole sport is one big distraction. You're out on the field, you got somebody across from you trying to do the exact opposite of what you're doing. That's a distraction. It's not a distraction to do business during the 5 or 6 days between games. Anyway, ran over. I'm off the soapbox.
Well, that's also going to screw them up, that rule, by the way, if Justin Fields continues to play well, Mike, and they would otherwise maybe want to try to cut a deal with him midseason that satisfies both parties. They're going to wait till the end of the season, and the price of the brick might go up, to quote The Wire.
Well, rules are meant to be ignored when it suits your broader interests. They had a rule. They wouldn't guarantee any money beyond the first year of the contract, except for Ben Roethlisberger, except for one guy. So that's the thing. It's not in the CBA. See, you see the teams that really want to do everything in their power to compete and contend. If they just maximize their opportunities and their options under the CBA. When you put rules on yourself that limit your ability to do business as well as you possibly could, you're hurting yourself for no reason. And I understand the philosophical concept. I don't like it, and I think what it does in certain circumstances, it cuts against what the Steelers should be trying to do.
Not to get people too bogged down in the minutia of this trade possibility, Mike, but it looks like, according to the people that cover the salary cap, that currently the Steelers have less money available to them than the prorated amount that's on Adams' deal at the moment. Does that mean they would have to wait multiple weeks until it got to a point where they could fit that salary on the books?
No, it just means you need to find somebody with a bloated salary for 2024 and do some sort of a renegotiation that creates some cap space. It's very easy to create cap space if you want to create cap space. The question is, do you want to create cap space? A week or so ago, Jerry Jones, the Cowboys owner, was having to deflect questions about why they didn't pursue running back Derrick Henry, and he said we couldn't afford it, which is just a load of crap. You can come up with $5 million in cap space. That's what it would have taken for Derrick Henry for this year. They could have done it if they wanted to. If the Steelers really want to do it, if all the other pieces are in place, coming up with the cap space necessary to do the deal is just a detail that gets resolved because both sides want to be together. That's really the threshold impediment. Does Davante Adams want to be in Pittsburgh? And if he doesn't, it doesn't matter if the Steelers are interested in him.